Game over. Game over.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Welcome to this podcast review for July 28th, 2025, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brennan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody, for this conversation. This episode is going to be a lot of fun, but it's also going to be a little different than usual. For those tuning in, you can probably hear by the sound of my voice, it is gone. We recorded a long episode last night where I had to yell at Brendan. And
I blame Ari Aster for that one.
It was all Ari Aster's fault.
I do seriously think it was that bonus content where we spent some time talking about Eddington, which you didn't get a chance to review with us on the actual podcast. So we had some differing opinions. And when that happens, JD and I tend to relish in that because that doesn't
happen often. No, it does not. We share the same brain usually, so we try to take advantage when we can. And clearly I did. So no regrets. I sound a little different today, but no regrets. We had a great time.
Thank you, Ari Aster.
Absolutely. That bonus content should be up pretty soon as this episode goes live.
Yes.
So you can sign up on Patreon or Apple Podcast subscriptions. Be sure to go and check that out. But I am playing injured today, as is Brendan, for different reasons. He's also a little under the weather. Yeah. So we brought in some backup. We added to the family, and carrying this conversation is going to be the great Wonder Meg. Meg, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this because I haven't really chatted about it yet. So it's pretty exciting. Yes. I don't know about carrying a conversation.
Well, I don't know if you have any choice. I mean, your name just speaks superhero-isms, right? So
that's true.
We can't say it's the Fantastic Three. We have to say it's the Fantastic Wonder Meg.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, well.
I know. If Sam was available, I could have brought him onto the show, and we could have had a Fantastic Four conversation. But he's not available at the current moment. He had to go to bed.
He's trying to find his superpowers.
Exactly. However, we are super, pun intended, I guess, for this conversation. Super happy to have you here, Meg. Great to have you here. I did reach out to Meg because obviously I wanted to have her back on the show. And it felt like this was the only movie to really bring her back because of her enthusiasm. I feel like you have talked about this movie endlessly for a long time, and it's been very exciting to watch. So
thank you.
We had to have you here. Very exciting.
You know, I never really was like a big Fantastic Four fan. Like the original, like the early 2000s movies were like kind of like they were cool when I was a kid, but like they were still even made fun of back then. So
oh yeah.
So yeah, no, there was something about this that just really spoke to me. So
I will say this for a little bit of nostalgic baseball for those who follow these sorts of things. That first Fantastic Four from what was that 2005, I believe it was, directed by Tim Story. The soundtrack for that movie kicks butt. It features an awesome song by Velvet Revolver that I still listen to this day. It's the only thing about that movie I still remember.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very 2000s superhero movie, but I still kind of dig it though.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's just even back then I remember thinking like, oh, I can't really tell people I like this because they're gonna make fun.
It's embarrassing.
Of me. Yeah. And I was like in 5th grade.
and all of those Marvel movies at the time, their soundtracks they feel like they're ripe for being made fun of nowadays. They tapped into that like post grunge, like pop punk sensibility that was so popular then, and they just relished in it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. And all these years later, we've been itching for a good, I want to say proper Fantastic Four movie because a great Fantastic Four movie does exist. It's called The Incredibles.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we love that movie. but a proper Fantastic Four movie that we all love and cherish. We've been looking forward to, and with this kicking off Marvel's Phase 6, it did seem as if there was some stakes to this. We've talked about this a lot on the main show.
Yeah.
So I guess to kick off the conversation, before we actually start the review for a little table setting, Meg, you briefly mentioned that you don't have a rich history with the Fantastic Four, but you were really looking forward to this film. But in terms of your thoughts on the MCU, what did you think about this film and how it stacks up, how it measures, how it might set the future for the MCU? Where do you fall in all of that with this film coming into it?
I think it's really solid to start their new phase with this, because I feel like it's like endless possibilities kind of when you start in another what is it, 828 is where they start in this one.
Yeah.
So and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And it's really refreshing that there's a Marvel movie that like they're going back to like Marvel films that have like a distinct visual aesthetic to them. Everyone knows that like Thor, the first Thor movie, is like my favorite MCU movie. And
so good. It's so good.
It is so good.
It is straight up a Kenneth Branagh film, and that's what I love about it.
Incredible.
Me too. Me too.
Shakespeare at the Park? Yes, please. Yeah.
All those beautiful Dutch angles. It's just there's like a personality to the movie, which I feel like has been so sorely missed from a lot of like post Infinity War and Endgame stuff.
That Patrick Doyle score is underrated as well.
Yes, it is.
I agree.
So when I was watching this, I felt like, oh wow, this feels like in, let's say, like 5 or 10 years, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's one of my favorite Marvel films, because I'm like a big visual person. Like I love seeing like a director, a cinematographer's vision, like from the first frame to like the last, and I feel like the first phase MCU movies have that the second phase kind of has that, but then they start kind of losing that here and there. Like they're like Black Panther is pretty impressive. There is some like weaker visuals in that, but for this, for Fantastic Four, there are some weird little bits, but the amount of work that they put in for like the Silver Surfer, her VFX were essentially flawless in my eyes. And Galactus was awesome, but also like there's a very beautiful story about family in there. And we'll get more into like specifics, but it was just really refreshing, and it actually made me pretty excited for Doomsday, even though like I hate Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. That's a whole other story.
Yeah. Maybe we could save that for the end.
We'll show that one. But I'm excited, and I feel like they've got a lot of new fresh faces that will be leading it, and I'm excited. I'm really excited.
A good little teaser there for Meg's thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps, but I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. It does seem as if Marvel has stripped away some of that personality that we've seen, at least with those early MCU films. And Brennan and I, we've certainly talked about that a lot over the years as well. It's still there. Like you can feel it here and there with some films in recent years, but generally it's felt more studio mandated than director mandated. Certainly would love to see them get more back to that for sure. All right, let's go ahead and get into this then. Fantastic Four, First Steps.
The is very important.
It is
very important. Also, and I did see this on Twitter, maybe you guys did as well, people were pointing out why it was called First Steps. I don't know. First Steps into Phase 6? Maybe that's the calling card there. I don't know.
I mean, Franklin doesn't even walk yet in this one, so he hasn't taken his first steps.
Maybe Galactus, because he was stepping all over.
Took his first steps.
He was stepping on.
Maybe that's what it is. Anyway,
there's a lot of walking in this movie.
First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman. It stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, even Moss Bachrick, Julia Garner, and a bunch of others that come and go throughout the film, including Natasha Lyonne and Paul Walter Hauser in small roles here. If you're not familiar with Fantastic Four First Steps, forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, the Fantastic Four must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald Silver Surfer. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this. Meg, I know you briefly mentioned your thoughts on this a little bit, but you can certainly get into it a little bit more here. What did you think about the Fantastic Four First Steps?
I really, really liked it. There's parts that I even love. I have issues mostly just with like the runtime and it feeling a little bit rushed, especially near the end. But overall, it was really fun. I saw it in basically a packed IMAX auditorium, and it felt like it kind of like rejuvenated my love for the MCU, because like I have seen every single one of these in theaters, like starting with Iron Man 1 all the way to now. So it was really great. My favorite character has to be Sue, which I knew going in was
We'll
gonna
talk
be
about
my
it.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of thoughts I'm sure all three of us are gonna have on Sue Storm.
Yeah, I had been reading a little bit of like her solo like adventures in the comics, like ramping up to this, and so reading those, I was super excited to see her in this movie, and I was just blown away. I love Vanessa Kirby. She was my pick to be like Black Canary in the DC universe, but that never happened, which is fine. Because I love Journey Smollett, but yeah, no, the story I felt was really well fleshed out. There's only a few times where I wanted more family interaction, but that's only just because, like, the act once it starts, it goes. So there's a lot of like action in it, and I was really hoping for a little bit more smaller like family moments all together. I know we have a few with like Ben and Johnny, which I loved their little bits together. And I really loved the way that they characterized Reed with basically he's just like he's so smart. It's like a burden to be that smart. Even like Sue says that to him kind of. But yeah, overall it was awesome. Galactus was cool. Silver Surfer was awesome. And I'm glad it kind of like shut up a lot of those haters, that were like, oh, it's just gender bent for the sake of it. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's meant to be cool.
There's purpose to it. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, no, overall I loved it. The score I thought was really good. It kind of gets a little bit repetitive, but it's a great score, so I'm fine with it being repetitive. But overall, yeah, I had a good time. I mean, I went in thinking I was gonna like it, and I did. So
yeah. And GD, we talked about this quite a bit on episode 647 already, where we talked about how we feel like the general public is going to react to this movie. And I do think it's going to be mostly favorable because, to your point, Meg, the film seems to be almost addressing the common criticisms that Marvel has been facing as of late. It's almost self-aware in that regard. The film does feel kind of like a back to basics approach to what Marvel movies used to be. So I think that's going to speak a lot of volumes for people who are going into this that maybe have some doubts. And also the fact that this is maybe the first Marvel movie since Iron Man that you really don't have to do any homework for.
Yeah.
I think that alone is going to add some credibility to this movie, whether it's the movie's, like biggest strength or not. Like whether that really contributes to how well it functions as a movie is kind of a different conversation to have. And that's why I'm really struggling with this one. I am so torn on this one. I think I'm willing to forgive it more so than I'm not, because it is doing so much right by addressing so many things we want to see these movies do. I think the overall quality of this movie for me, though, I wouldn't put it too many steps above some of the movies from phases 4 and 5 for me personally. That said, where it does succeed is ultimately more important. I think the individual successes of this movie are major steps in the right direction that are going to make me forgive the movie in the end, which is why I am mixed on the movie overall, but I am mixed to positive, to say it more specifically. The biggest issue I have with it, and I want to start here because I'm sure there are more positives that we want to focus this conversation on. The movie this reminded me of the most was Ridley Scott's Napoleon when I saw that in theaters. When I saw that in theaters, my first thought was, this feels like a very severely truncated version of a much bigger movie. And I felt that with Fantastic Four First Steps. This movie feels like it's edited in a way that strips this down to something that feels more like an introduction than it does a movie at times. Meg, you were talking a lot about how there are maybe some moments where we could have used more interactions between the family, between characters. I feel like that was there. And I wonder if someone came in and said, we need to strip this back a bit. There are even some stories now that apparently John Malkovich was cast as one of the villains for the intro, and he was edited out of the film completely. And I kind of feel those breaking points in the movie, if I'm being honest. Like, the movie feels kind of like an outline for a much bigger movie. And I do think that's pretty unfortunate, especially given the potential that this had, because where this movie is succeeding, whether it be in its aesthetics, to your point, Meg, some of the production design, the musical score, the way that this basically feels more like a quote unquote movie than it does Disney Plus content, that is worth praising. And there are many moments here where I think that is worth praising, and many emotional moments here that I think we're going to talk about further, I'm sure. And I think those are mostly well earned. I just wish it was. I think Matt Shakman, the director, had more of a vision for this that was maybe slightly hindered. And I really wish it wasn't. I would not be surprised if at some point we get some type of director's cut for this, because I think there's a lot of material that got taken away to turn this into something that felt more like an attempt to bring people back. This really does feel more like a way to win people over than it does a movie at times. And I wish it was both. I really wish it was both, but hey, it's doing the right things that we want to see. So if they make a movie with Doomsday and then the new Spider-Man, then at least they're moving in the right direction. Maybe this is just a stepping stone.
I really like this a lot. I really liked it a lot. I'm with you, Meg. I think it's aesthetically refreshing for the MCU. I loved its 1960s futuristic visual palette. Michael Giacchini's score is fantastic. As you noted, Brennan, it's the first Marvel film in a long time that doesn't require any homework. Outside of Pieces of a Woman. I do want to talk about that more as we go here.
That is the precursor for sure.
That is the precursor. Maybe more than anything, I think what really sets it apart is how, like the Thunderbolts, it's much more character and theme focused than it is action oriented. There's really only one big action set piece in the film when Galactus arrives on Earth. I guess you could include the black hole sequence, but it's not a traditional superhero battle scene. It's a chase sequence, and there's some great thrill to it in that regard, but more than anything, it's about Sue giving birth and the importance of that moment for her and the family. So while the spectacle is exhilarating, I was more moved by its character and emotional ethos. And I just love how the film is willing to slow down and be more about the dynamic of our heroes, what defines them, and how the threat of Galactus begins to shift their nucleus individually and as a family. But therein also lies the problem. There's so much emphasis on character and theme that Feige, or perhaps Bob Iger giving direction to Feige, they were fearful that audiences would be checked out. So they edited this film into oblivion to keep the story moving. And as a result, some scenes that were clearly designed to breathe and let the audience waft an emotion, it is cut short drastically. There are character beats that are just missing. There was clearly more to all of these characters and their progression throughout the film that was left on the cutting room floor. It's especially felt with Ben, perhaps more so than anyone else. The editing, I think, is kind of a nightmare. It's really bad. It's not good
it is,
at all. If the film had committed to Shackman's vision, it could have been a top tier MCU film, borderline top 5. I think this film could have been really, really great. Despite the corporate interference, though, Shackman's original vision is still intact enough for me, and I love what it's going for, that I was still moved in the end. There's an image of Sue at the end of this film that is one of the most affecting in all of the MCU for my money. Vanessa Kirby is really, really good here, and how she invokes the film's themes on motherhood is incredible. I cannot wait to talk about that further. I did tease this to Brendan earlier, and I might as well do it to our audience as well. When we start talking about Sue, there is, I would say, a 70% chance that I'm not going to make it through it.
You went from 50 to 70. You just upped the ante right here mid-conversation.
And I upped the ante because even as I was saying those words, I could feel the emotion boiling up in me. So I'm probably not going to make it through, but that speaks, though, to how good I think this film is when it is good. I do think it is really moving when it's at its best. It's frustrating that the editing keeps it from being as great as it could be.
Yeah, especially the editing is very jarring, especially after they get back from the chase scene and she gives birth, and you really have no idea how much time has passed other than like the physical manifestation of Franklin. He's a baby. But in my head while I was watching it, I was like, oh man, they really don't have that much time to get this figured out. And then they get back to Earth, and it's like they're just living life trying to figure this out. And I'm like, okay, but like, clock's ticking, you guys. Let's figure this one out. Galactus is coming, and then boom, all of a sudden they have those gateway things all figured out, built, and I'm like, golly, that just seemed like really fast. Like, all of a sudden, like, it was slow. You slowed it way down. Franklin's here. He's being a baby. They're taking care of him, having really cute family moments together. And then, all right, guys, the gateways are built. And I'm just like, huh?
Yeah.
And then Galactus was there, and I was like,
that's kind of the brilliance of this film, though. I think, like, I love that the film is willing to do that despite the dramatic urgency at play, which is what makes the actual plotting of the film, the mechanics of it, frustrating, to your point, because it is rushed. But I love that Shackman wanted to slow down at that specific time, because the threat is looming so large that it does boil up all this emotion, this raw humanity in everybody that the film does want to explore. You can tell that it wants to explore it.
It's very teasy in that way. Like,
exactly. That's what I mean. It's like, you have like this sense of urgency, but like the editing doesn't match what the plot is going for, I don't think. And so I was sitting there and I was like, is it weeks, days, months? I have no idea. And but you don't see Franklin a lot. So when you do finally see him, I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's like a month old or something. I don't know. You don't. I can't tell. I have no idea.
Tell. Yeah, well, that's ultimately why I made the comparison to something like Ridley Scott's Napoleon when I first saw it in the theater, because it feels very montagey more so than it does a movie. And I didn't even realize this until I said it coincidentally. Who else is in that movie Napoleon really helping hold things together? Vanessa Kirby. So, of course.
There we go.
So, of course,
everything's connected.
Everything's connected to Kirby.
Yeah.
And in many ways, like with Napoleon, between her and Joaquin Phoenix, in this movie, you have Vanessa Kirby doing so much of the performative heavy lifting. She is able to fill in some of those missing gaps for the most part that the editing kind of fails the movie with. In many ways, I feel like this is kind of her movie. I'm almost. It kind of reminds me of, GD, how we talked about Avengers Infinity War, how that feels more like a Thanos movie than it does an Avengers movie, right? I would almost say something similar here with Fantastic Four. This feels kind of more like a Sue Storm movie. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I think it's actually a great thing, because she is the strongest part of this movie for me. Vanessa Kirby's performance. It takes a great performance to really help fill in those gaps that the movie is unfortunately not giving us. And I can't really give her credit for doing that because she probably doesn't know that she's doing that. She's just doing what needs to happen in the moment. But she's so good at her job that just becomes a byproduct of her performance feeding into the movie. I think where those moments really hit hard, she's doing so much of that work that she makes it work. She really is quite tremendous in this thing.
I agree. Should I just get into it and try to get through this?
Let's do it.
Just start crying.
If you start crying, I will probably start crying too because her performance was just.
And I will just put my arms back, waft in the beauty that I'm about to experience.
Yeah, look, I'm not. I think I'm gonna have to up the ante even more because even as Brendan is talking about, I'm struggling to suppress my emotions.
I thought you were coughing. I thought you were coughing like there. But apparently, no. It's JD tears.
It's lingering. No,
everyone, go to the In Session Film store and buy a hashtag JD tears shirt.
No, I mean, yeah. As an ode to motherhood, her arc and how it crystallizes here, it floored me in the end. Again, despite the editing and how it did everything in its power to suppress that emotion, but it very much did work for me. And I think a big reason why it's so affecting is that Sue portrays both a selfishness as it relates to her own child, but also a selflessness in her role as a heroine. Her speech to the public after they get back about her, like her unwillingness to sacrifice Franklin while simultaneously not giving up on the people of Earth, I think is really, really great. It's not sophisticated. I love the simplicity of it, but the truth behind her sentiment is sincere and honest. And I love how that dichotomy is also reflected in her actions. I think of that moment when she's about to give birth and she desperately calls out to Johnny to kill Shalabal. It's a plea from a mother who's willing to do whatever it takes to protect her child. It's such a thrilling moment in the film. Of course, the other big moment is with Galactus at the end of the film. And goodness gracious, the look on her face as she's pushing back against Galactus, it's a mother on the prowl. And it's incredibly, incredibly effective. However, what really pushed me over the edge, and this is where I'm going to struggle. So
I love
just bear with me here. But what really pushed me over the edge was...
Oh, there it is. There it is.
It's been a long time.
JD is thinking about his lovely wife right now. I love the pause. We have to keep that in.
This is one of the worst ones, to be honest. What pushed me over the edge, though, was the aftermath of that sequence as Sue passes out from her efforts to save Franklin. There is an uncanny valley aspect to the scene with Franklin, but again, despite the visual, him, and this is maybe a little spoiler territory, but I need to get into this.
I think we're going to have to get into spoilers with this movie now.
Yeah.
Everyone's already talking about it in spoiler sake now.
Yeah. The visual of Franklin reaching out to Sue, that's the moment that really killed me. It's a devastatingly tender and powerful moment. The symbolism of it as it relates to this idea that our children save us as much as it's our duty to protect them. Like that symbolism just it laid on me like a ton of bricks. I have no idea where I would be without my two boys.
Sure.
I might not be laying dead on the streets, but they absolutely gave me new life. So yeah, the weird uncanny valley aside, those little baby hands reaching out to Sue is such a captivating subversion to the film's themes on motherhood that I think is great. Like that 1-2 punch of Sue, like that close-up, those close-ups on Sue, and the other side of that coin of Franklin reaching out to save his mother, it's incredible. And it's also a fascinating catharsis when juxtaposed to Pieces of a Woman, which is what makes this film and Pieces of a Woman weirdly
they're companion pieces.
A great companion piece.
That's a double feature.
With Vanessa Kirby. I don't know if she's talked about this in interviews. Admittedly, I haven't seeked any of that out, but I do wonder if this was some sort of catharsis for her, reading this script, knowing what that experience was like, and then to fight for the other end of that spectrum. I think is incredible, and even more hefty when you also consider the powers of Sue Storm and the thematic metaphor behind that as well. Like, she's a literal shield for her family throughout this film, and that as an extension of her maternal instinct, I think is incredible. So yeah, I was floored by Vanessa Kirby and how this film handles the arc of that character.
I can't help but think Pieces of a Woman is probably what got her this role. I have to wonder if that was the case. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Feige knew that was ultimately one of the thematic notions he wanted to explore with this movie. And when he saw Pieces of a Woman, he thought, okay, Sue Storm. He probably did. I don't know if the timing worked out in that way, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Mm-hmm. I also just have to say, let's give JD a round of applause for getting through that as
seriously.
Well.
I got through it. I don't know how, but I did. I struggled.
You did well. Once again, everyone listening, make sure you get your hashtag JD Tears t-shirt from the Inception Film Store.
Yeah.
God. No, I definitely was just crying there too. So
it's so sweet.
You just can't see it.
I appreciate it.
No, I agree with everything. I mean, I'm not a mother. I'm just a woman that wants to be a mother eventually. So seeing such, I mean, you don't really see superhero mothers in movies. There's Wanda, but like Wanda is all, her stuff is just all messed up kind of.
Yeah, there's kind of a manifestation of motherhood as opposed to actual motherhood that then becomes actual motherhood. Yeah, it's a strange concoction, but you're right.
I was weirdly moved for similar reasons though. I mean, she takes a very different approach, but the idea that she, at least in her mind, has these children that were stripped from her, and she's going to do everything in her power to get them back is a powerful notion.
Matt Shackman, he did WandaVision too.
He did WandaVision. Yeah. So he knows this well.
So he understands moms.
I really appreciate how he puts them like right in the center, and how, like you said, this is like Sue's story. And what I really appreciated was the birthing scene, about how, you know, Sue and Reed are like these huge icons, like celebrities, basically the leaders of the earth that they're on.
Yeah.
And everything is so perfectly manicured and planned, and she always looks stunning. And what I appreciated a lot in that scene specifically is it totally throws a monkey wrench into her birthing plans, into every plan she's had up until then. And she still manages to be the hero of the situation. And even at the end, too, she doesn't know if she can take on Galactus all by herself. She's never tried it, but she does it. And hearing the baby screams, cries cut in between that, I was like, I was just blown away, honestly. And like you said, the end scene where she's laying there, I was almost expecting, because this seems like it could be just any throwaway universe, really. And I was like, oh no. I was like, they're not going to kill Sue. They're not going to kill her off. And then she comes back, and it was just really refreshing to see she's not perfect, but she is perfect.
Yeah, it was just simply refreshing for me to see a superhero movie do the death fake out once again, but actually do it in a refreshing way, which I feel like is even harder to do, right?
That's again symbolically powerful.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole movie, in a way, feels like it's kind of the ethos of what the Fantastic Four always has been, which is the most perfect four organisms on
Yes.
the planet who are then challenged to such a degree that their imperfections start to show themselves because of their perfections. I mean, that's mostly evident in Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic himself, whose arrogance perhaps comes out more so than anything else. But even Sue Storm, to your point, Meg, is another example of that. That she has to find a new source of strength that is something that she's not used to put herself into a new form of harm's way that I found really refreshing. That whole like spontaneous press conference sequence I thought was really affecting as well, because it feels very spontaneous. She's trying to challenge something inside her that she's never done before, never had before. And it just proves that sometimes to deliver the best press conference, just have your wife do it. Don't have the man do it. Just have your wife do it. She's usually more eloquent anyway.
Yeah, it's clear that Reed was not going to be able to pull that off.
No, after that first one, he's definitely not going to pull that off again. But going back to Matt Shakman, though, what I love about what he does here and what he also did with WandaVision is that he's letting his two lead actresses really do the work for him, as opposed to really trying to do the work for them himself. I feel like it's a good director knows when you either have an actor or a screenwriter that might be more well-versed in a certain like socio-political topic that your movie's about to address. Sometimes that director may openly say, I'm a little ignorant towards this. You know this more than I do. Please carry this for me. And I feel like in a way, it's almost like Matt Shakman is suggesting Vanessa Kirby knows how to do this better than I can direct her to do it. She's like a good performance sometimes almost feels like a form of co-directing. In a way, I sometimes feel like in those moments, Vanessa Kirby is doing so much of that work.
No, it's incredible. And again, that's why I think that impromptu speech that she has works so brilliantly despite the simplicity of it. She's incredibly sincere and honest, and she delivers that dialogue in a way that makes people forget why they were mad at them to begin with. And it makes them understand that her selfishness is something that we would all probably choose. I know that I would. I'm sorry, I'm not giving up my boys to save the world either. Sorry if it comes down to that. You guys are all dead. I just can't do it. But it's
nice knowing you guys.
I love that she's willing to be selfish in that regard, because we all are as parents. But it's not going to stop her from being Sue, this incredible heroine, either. And I like the way she taps into that is great, but it's not just word salad. It's something that she also demonstrates with her actions, as we've been talking about. And I love that dichotomy. I love that she's willing to be a little prickly when needed, or at least when she's most vulnerable. But that is also what makes her so powerful. And to your point, Brennan, I love that Shakman is willing to give Vanessa Kirby that space to depict that without the film having to handhold the audience at all. A lot of it is close-ups on Vanessa Kirby and her performance, and sometimes it's nonverbal. It's just those close-ups of her eyes doing a lot of the work and denoting that she's not going to let anyone steal Franklin from her.
And even Michael Giacchino's score tends to take a bit of a backseat to her performance.
Yes.
That whole ending scene that we were highlighting as well, with Franklin putting his arms out for her. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's no score in those.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So again, you have another great artist who is known for such great thematic and emotional backbones to the movies that he scores, taking a step back to let the true star in that moment shine. There are moments of restraint from those behind the camera that I really do appreciate. The more I talk about this movie, it probably sounds like I'm actually higher on it than I said during my opening thoughts, but I still stand by being pretty mixed on the movie overall for other reasons I haven't even acknowledged yet. But when this focuses on Sue Storm, I mean, it makes me want to like the movie more, which is why I am so disappointed in it. To your point earlier, JD, there is a top tier Marvel movie in here somewhere.
It is, yeah.
But those moments involving Sue Storm and Vanessa Kirby's performance in particular, they really showcase where that movie could have been.
Yeah, I'm also willing to admit that I certainly have biases when it comes to some of these sequences here. Another element I couldn't help but think about with those final scenes with Sue and Franklin reaching out to her. Like our little one, Andrew, is at this stage where he will reach out in a similar way, but what he'll also say, he'll be like, my daddy or my mama. And
he's like, he's claiming you.
Yeah.
Yes. and he says it in this incredibly affectionate way, which is all I could think about in that moment of Franklin just reaching out, going, my mama.
Yeah.
And there is something so pure and innocent about that, which is what I love so much about fatherhood and parenting these young kids, is you see that innocence in their eyes every single day. But that's also what breathes new life into me. Like, again, like it, as much as it's my duty to protect and take care of them, I mean, they're, without knowing it, they're doing the same thing for me. And
it's a two-way street.
It makes it such an incredible moment that Shackman was able to tap into that in this film. And I think that's why I really love to what we were saying earlier, as far as this film being willing to slow down despite some of the dramatic urgency, which is why I would also love to see an extended version of this. Shackman has already stated that there's not going to be, because there's too much visual effects involved, so it's probably not going to happen. But
that's fair. Those artists were overworked to begin with. So
yeah, but I would love it though. Just
selfishly, I'm with you.
Selfishly, to see his vision of it as a 3-hour movie.
We can just close our eyes and imagine the parts that aren't finished. I'll just close my eyes and be like, "Whoa!"
I'll dream the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been focusing a lot on Sue here, and it is her movie, so that is warranted. But I noted earlier in my opening thoughts, there's clearly a lot to Ben's arc in this film that is just gone, like just completely erased from the film altogether. But it's
not Backrack's performance. It's not his performance.
No.
But at the same time, I feel like there is something missing, because much of what we get with him is a CGI design, which is admittedly a little bit harder to identify with at times. So, like, I do wonder how much of that is him being limited, or more so the editing limiting him. I
think it's the editing, because I think his performance is fine, and I love the idea that despite the world embracing them, when we catch up with them anyway, he's still dealing with some insecurity, and he wants to approach.
You can feel that.
He wants to approach the, what is the character's name?
Played by Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah,
she's Rachel. He wants to approach her, but he's and again, and maybe that's less of how he looks as much as it's just a general human thing, and that, like, him working through that is clearly gone. Like, you can tell that there's more of that that they just kind of strip out of the movie, and maybe even with Johnny a little bit as well. I do love that the film gives him more than just being this goofball. Like, he is clever and smart, and we do see that in spades in the film. There's a reason he was on that spaceship to begin with. But I think there's more to that character, especially as it relates to the parallels with the Silver Surfer in this character.
Yeah, I feel like there was more explored there between him and his interest and curiosity in the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for Ben, I loved what Michael Chiklis did with the character in the original. Well, not the original, the early 2000s. Original to me, early 2000s movies, because you really felt for him. I mean, it's mostly because they cut out like a the origin really of, we see little highlight reels of them being, coming back to Earth, being accepted, having powers, becoming whatever they are. But you miss a lot of his struggles with the way he looks, the way he's treated, and even the way he's seen by like the people that he loves. What I really enjoyed about those early 2000s ones is that like he had a love interest. There was someone there that was there to love him, and even if he didn't love himself and the way he looked, I really enjoyed that, and I feel like that is just so missing here, and especially because we don't know if they'll end up in the main timeline, if they're going to be here to stay, if there's going to be a new version of the Fantastic Four. But I would have really loved to seen his character and his like interpersonal struggles, like with being so powerful, yet he's almost repulsed by the way he looks. He's this all-powerful hero. He's smart and strong, and kids love him, and the people love him, but there's just something missing inside of him, and I wish we could have gotten to see that. And his interactions with Johnny were great. I love how that
was fun. That was very
fun. But I was just like, okay, I can like suspend my disbelief and be like, oh yeah, all these people love each other and they know each other so well. But even when they mention that Ben and Reed are like best friends, you kind of have to
just say, okay.
Yeah, you just kind of have to accept it and kind of use your own background with the characters to fill in the blanks. So a lot like I think Sue and Reed's relationship worked really well. There's a little bit some pieces that I was hoping to explore more, but I really think that the film kind of let down Ben and Johnny, who equally have interesting backgrounds and places they go with the character. But Johnny, I will say, I love how they showed that Johnny is smart and he knows what he's doing. He should be there, and not just a womanizer. That Chris Evans' character was more so.
He's cocky, but he kind of like he kind of like he's like one of those people who
like
kind of talk the talk but walk the walk in a way.
Yeah,
like he almost earns it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but when I look back at the Fantastic Four film from 2005, directed by Tim Story, and there are a lot of problems with that movie.
Yeah,
I don't think casting is one of those problems.
No.
I think it's maybe outside of Jessica Alba. I think that might be a bit debatable, but she's okay in it. But I think for the most part, the casting isn't really the issue.
No,
the hot take I might say is that I actually think the Thing in that movie felt more expressive than we get here. And maybe that's just simply a byproduct of the tangible costume design that Michael Chiklis was given. It still looks like him. There's still some facial interaction and movement. So there's something that feels very tangible about his performance in that movie that we don't quite get here. But I think we could have gotten that here had we gotten more of Ben Grimm and that relationship he has with Reed Richards and that friendship that we're simply told about as opposed to, feeling. I think that could have filled in those gaps if we just had the right material to back it up.
I think it's funny that you say that, Brendan, because my immediate thought when seeing Ben in this film in the Thing form, obviously, I think the body features, there's a lot of detail there. The problem
visual effects are pretty good.
The face, I don't think is great. And to me, that's where the VFX kind of falters a little bit, and it feels a little too digitized, and that's where it's not nearly as expressive. And I couldn't help but think about our conversation recently, and that the VFX team just doesn't have the same time that they did in the 2000s. If we got the 2000s kind of CGI with the performance that you get here, I do think the character could have been equally as expressive and equally as compelling. I do love that this film forgoes the origin, some of what we already know about, for example, the relationship between Ben and Reed. They're best friends. Maybe that's not depicted here, but generally we know that to be true about the Fantastic Four. I do love that this film doesn't have to reiterate that necessarily. Instead, it wants to focus on Ben and him his relationship with the outside world, but in a different way than what you got with the 2000s Fantastic Four, or Johnny being smart and clever as much as he's a womanizer and a goofball here. And I love that even in terms of his confidence, how that parallels or rubs up against the Silver Surfer. Like, there's clearly more to that on the cutting room floor that I would just love to see. Like, I do love the fundamental approach here. Again, with everything that we've been talking about, where it ultimately stumbles is in the editing. Like, it just kills it all.
I do want to bring that up again, because I hinted that there's another thing about this movie that really didn't work for me, and it's another reason why I'm ultimately kind of mixed to positive on the movie overall. I mean, the film's biggest issue, as we keep alluding to, is the editing and the fact that it feels kind of like an abridged version for a much bigger movie. But I bring that up to say that the other issue I had with this movie, and I don't know if it's the editing that's doing this similarly to how it affects the Ben Grimm character and the Johnny Storm character. I think the biggest problem is Reed Richards. I don't know if it's the editing or if it's Pedro Pascal. There are a few moments here where I thought to myself, is the movie failing him or is he miscast? I feel like he's kind of sleeping his way through this movie at times. And I do wonder if, by being such an edited version of maybe what could have been a much bigger movie, do those moments where Pedro Pascal is so good at what he usually does, are those just simply missing? Pedro Pascal is a very talented actor. He's very good at doing a lot of the things that Vanessa Kirby's very good at. But I feel like we get more of those instances of Vanessa Kirby's successes than we do what Pedro Pascal is capable of. I feel like for the most part, if that relationship between Reed and Sue works, it's because Kirby's doing pretty much all the heavy lifting. I don't know if it's Pascal, and I don't know if it's the movie failing him, but like Reed himself was maybe my biggest issue with the movie, outside of the editing just affecting the whole thing. But I think my issues with Reed, probably yet another byproduct of that overarching issue that we have.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're so used to, I'm so used to seeing Reed as like the leader. So I was already and I agree with you, that I was a little underwhelmed by his performance. But I feel like I'm so used to seeing Reed as the leader, the face of the Fantastic Four, and he definitely takes a back seat to Sue in this, which I totally appreciated. Like,
I like that idea.
Yeah. And also I was reading something about how he had done a ton of work to get a transatlantic accent down.
Oh,
like,
yeah, and apparently they said no.
Yeah, and so as he, I'm pretty sure it was during the filming they told him, like, "Oh, you gotta, like, reel it back a little bit." And so it totally affected his performance. And I feel like you can definitely hear different parts of the movie. Has more of an exaggerated accent than others, especially when he
Interesting point. Yeah.
And when he's talking with Sue, you can hear, like, when they have a little bit more heated arguments, or you can hear that he definitely worked on his accent, and then other times it's like almost completely gone. And so that was throwing me off quite a bit. And I feel like there's only a few Reed scenes that I even remember, because I was so focused on his accent that I was, like, really not paying attention. I mean, the one where it's like, I'm going to stop trying to find what is he talking to Franklin, and I want you to show me.
I'm not going to try and find out who you are anymore. When
I just want you to show
me who you are, and I'll just listen.
Yeah, and that was beautiful. I loved that moment. But outside of that, I'm like, where was I don't really remember much about it. I know he's researching a lot and doing experiments, but Sue really takes, like, the lead here in the team, in the movie, in the performances, and he just kind of like wilted away to me at some point. I was just like, where even is he? And I love Pedro Pascal. And most of his performances I'm like get me pretty emotional because he's such a great actor and he can pull that out of you. But this, I was just like, it could have been someone else, and I probably would have felt the same way, you know.
I guess I'm going to be the outlier here. I really liked Pedro Pascal. I didn't know anything about a fake accent that he was working with, so I was not distracted by that in any way, shape, or form. I didn't really hear anything that was distracting to me either, so perhaps that's part of it. But also what I really like about the character. Now, before I get into this, let me reiterate, like Ben, like Johnny, the character ultimately suffers from the editing pandemic that is all over this film. It's bad. And he does take a backseat to Sue, but I love that fundamentally that's what this film is all about.
Sure.
Because those opening montages do establish that he is the leader. He's well-spoken. He's a mathematical genius, a science genius, and a great hero. But once we get into the plot mechanics of this film, Sue is pregnant. That completely reorients his nucleus. And he's doing all this testing to try to find out if the baby is going to be okay. He is flustered. The character, the way it is written on the page, is flustered. He doesn't know how to speak anymore. He's cold. He's distant. He doesn't know what to do. And I think that is fundamentally the DNA of what Shackman's vision of this is when being juxtaposed to everything we talked about with Sue. And I do love that arc in this film because he goes from being this cold, detached, lost mathematical genius to ultimately being a father who has no idea what he's doing and is completely giving himself to the universe, which is totally antithetical to who we know him to be. But that's what I find so brilliant about the writing of the character and Pascal's performance, how he taps into that lostness and crystallizing with that moment you brought up earlier, Meg, when he simply has this intimate moment with Franklin. It's just the two of them in this tight shot, and he's talking to Franklin, which on its own terms is a miracle that they got a baby to behave for 30 seconds for that scene to be shot. But
wasn't a CGI baby?
Great. No. Vanessa Kirby confirmed that was real. The baby was mostly real.
And it was a girl.
And it was a girl.
Yeah. I guess outside of the actual birthing scene in space, I think that was maybe the one time they had to use some digital trickery there. But yeah.
In space and the moment we talked about earlier at the end with Sue.
Are you telling me they didn't actually fly a baby around in a bulletproof carriage?
Maybe they did. Who knows? They can do a lot today with technology. Yeah. But I think a lot of that character, the arc, it is leading to that moment where he has to give himself away to something that is completely foreign to him, something completely unknown. And, so he has that great moment with Franklin when he tells him, I'm not going to try to figure this out anymore. When the universe is ready, when you're ready, you'll tell me. But even in that moment, as great as it is, there's still a little bit of that Reed Richards, can you please do it now though?
Let's hurry this up.
Let's hurry. Even though he's giving himself away, fundamentally the character is still there. And Pedro Pascal is so good in that moment, but everything had been leading to that. And I think it crystallizes in a great spot. So his actions in that final scene, how they complement what we see with Sue and Vanessa Kirby, I think is really great. So I love the arc here. I love Pascal, how he taps into that lostness. And I guess going back to what we were saying earlier in terms of when this film is good, is it affecting? For me, it was, and that includes Pascal. But admittedly, it's not seamless. It is rough around the edges.
It's choppy. It's very choppy.
Again, And I don't think that's Shackman's fault, and I don't think that's Pascal's fault. The
yeah.
MCU lords, whether it be Feige or Iger or both of them, their thumbprints are all over this movie, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because of how I responded to the film, the Pascal stuff did work for me. Ultimately,
I think what you're speaking to there, JD, I think it is proof that the issues I have with Reed Richards and maybe even to some extent Pedro Pascal's performance, it is the editing failing him, because that one moment you both are highlighting, I do think is very good, but I think it still feels like it's building to more of an emotional epiphany with Reed that the film is still waiting to deliver on that we don't quite get. As much as I like that scene, I don't know if it's enough to push the character further for me personally. There's so much about Reed in this movie, at least in the first half, where I thought you seem more robotic than Herbie, your actual robot, which I guess is part of the point. You know, that
I found that to be intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I was wrestling with it, was that, is that intentional, or does Pedro Pascal not even want to be here? It kind of felt like a push and pull going on there. And then you get that one scene in the middle between him and Franklin that I thought, okay, this is really touching. And then we get more afterwards, and I'm like, okay, now you're back to being a robot again. I feel like we're missing a little bit more context. And I think that goes back to the editing failing the character and the performance.
I think so.
I really think it is. Sadly, by the time we get to the end credits, there's not enough there to push the character of Reed any further when compared to how well the film handles Sue Storm. And I think the film wants to handle them both, not necessarily equally, but push them both into a similar trajectory. And I think it misses the boat with Reed by the time we get to the end.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't blame anyone for watching this movie and feeling completely detached from any of these characters, except for maybe Sue, because there's so much to Sue in this film. But because of the editing, if you don't feel anything for any of these characters, I'm not going to blame anybody. For me, it really comes down to, I think when the film is at its best, it is so good that I couldn't ignore that. I did feel that. I was emotionally moved, but I did feel the disruption. Absolutely. 100%. Which is why, you know, as much as I was moved, like, I think that's why the moment of Franklin reaching out to Sue, that was almost like a volcanic eruption, because the emotion was welling up in me, but there was no catharsis.
I agree.
The film just kept suppressing itself at any moment.
Yeah, it kept pulling its punches.
Oh yeah. So then when that emotion finally did boil up over the surface,
it's like the teasing finally paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they keep dangling this emotional carrot in front of you, and then you finally get to eat it, you pesky rabbit.
Yeah. But that's more of a happy accident than, you know, the film kind of getting
you were the right audience for devouring that carrot at that particular time.
Yeah. And Vanessa Kirby's just so good here.
She is. She's just amazing. I've always loved her, and as soon as she was cast as Sue Storm, I was like, "Oh, hell yes!" And then everyone's like, "Oh, she's too old to play Sue Storm," and I'm like, "Just wait, it's gonna be great." And also, she's not too old, but just wait. And everyone has just been blown away.
I just hope her back is okay. Having to
I know. Yeah, and plus she's pregnant too, like in real life. And
in real life,
it was really beautiful. I do suggest watching some of the interviews, especially with her, because she, as emotional as you just got, JD, she gets that emotional during some of the like little press junkets, and she really is reflective about how, like, I'm pretty sure she was a little bit pregnant during during reshoots or something, she said, and how she used the power of her child to push her through that. She didn't want to do reshoots, who does, but and she pushed herself through it, and she said that she's going to take a lot of what she put into the character of Sue into her actual mothering ways. And I was like, oh, she's just amazing. I really can't think of a better pick for Sue. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I love it.
Well cast. Very well cast.
Very well cast. Well, do you guys have any other final thoughts on the Fantastic Four first steps before we get out of here?
Silver Surfer was awesome.
Silver Surfer.
She was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Should we talk about the post-credit scene? Or the mid-credit scene more specifically? That's really the important one.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I mean, we've already given a spoiler alert, but just in case, once again, spoilers for the mid-credit scene. And once again, Vanessa Kirby did confirm that was Robert Downey Jr. on set. They shot it on the set of Avengers, so it wasn't part of the original production of the film. But I don't know. What do you guys think? What are we watching? What's gonna happen?
I mean,
meh.
Yeah, it doesn't get me it doesn't get me any more excited or less excited. Like, it's just like, to me, if we didn't know who was playing Doctor Doom yet, I would have been like, oh shit.
That is a great
crazy.
point. That is a great point, Meg. It's there are so many announcements, so many things we already know that kind of makes this post-credit scene feel very anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was like what they did with Thunderbolts, how they made you sit and watch those chairs for like 6 hours, and it's revealed that like who lives and who dies from Thunderbolts. I was just like, I mean, I don't know. I know that they do that to like avoid like people doing set pictures or whatever, but I'm just like, if we didn't know who Doom was, that post-credit scene, people would be going to see that movie just for that.
Yeah.
But since it's Robert Downey Jr. and it's going into like a team up movie that we really don't have a lot of connective tissue for yet, like the MCU prior to Thunderbolts has felt so disconnected and just nothing, like aimless kind of, that it doesn't move me in either direction. I'm kind of just still in the middle about it, but I really just, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom is not my thing.
I still find it kind of sour of a choice as well.
Me too.
And even the way the post-credit scene is staged and the way it's revealed just feels very anticlimactic because of what we already know. This post-credit scene feels very much like a kind of moment, and that's really it. And not to say that these post-credit scenes need to be more revealing, but given where Marvel is right now and the goodwill that they need to earn back, I think they need to be churning out more excitement than they are now. And unfortunately, a lot of that potential excitement was already given to us at Comic-Con, right?
Exactly.
So it's like they jumped the gun so early to establish that goodwill that I think they forgot to really plan out not just the narrative of where these stories are going, but the narrative with how they plan their marketing. I mean, like marketing is a narrative. There's a narrative to how you plan all that stuff out, and they're getting to those. They're getting to those endpoints too soon, I think, which made that ending just kind of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm apathetic toward it, it's because I don't love to agree with you guys. I don't love Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom. I'm not sold on that yet. Avengers is going to have to do a lot of work to get me on board. Maybe the execution of it will ultimately make sense of Downey Jr. The way the Russos have talked about it, I think there's potential logic to what they're trying to do. Even if I don't fully love what they might be going for, it might make sense. Maybe they'll earn it in the long run. I will say, despite how I feel about it, given where all of this is going, I don't know what else they were supposed to do as far as a stinger goes. I mean, given the involvement of Franklin in Secret Wars, this makes the most sense. So I think it was the right call in that regard. We know that Franklin's going to be a key figure to Secret Wars, and Doom is obviously going to be in the middle of it all. So showcasing the two of them having a little meeting there, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We kind of knew that was going to be the post-credit scene anyway, if you were following a few clues throughout the movie, first steps, that during all of these almost like UN-like press conferences, the one country that is never represented, excuse me, is where Doctor Doom is from. So there are little cues and clues like that to make us aware of it. So we knew that this was ultimately going to be the post-credit scene. But I think, to your point earlier, Meg, just to beat a dead horse once again, knowing who's playing Doctor Doom kind of defeats the excitement a little bit for me. I think that moment could have been a huge deal, even if we knew Doctor Doom was coming. But if we didn't know the context or the who was playing him yet, that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, especially if you look at how they teased Thanos. We had no idea who it was going to be. It's even a different character design from what they end up going with.
Yeah.
But it's so effective. It's just like cold and to the point. Like you just see him floating on his chair. Well, he has his gauntlet. He's like, all right, I got to do this. And it's so menacing. But with this, I'm just like, I just don't care.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think they did make a mistake by casting RDJ. But again, maybe they'll win us back in execution. I don't know. However, I do think about how successful this could have been if they never revealed, even though RDJ was cast, but they go to Comic-Con last year and they just bring someone out on stage in costume, but they don't reveal who it actually is.
Yeah.
That maintains that mystery. So when we get this mid-credit stinger, maybe there's more appeal to it.
Yeah, like all of these Dooms come out, and then someone is front and center, about to take the mask off, but then doesn't. And the Roosters say, just so you know, there's a famous actor underneath that mask, but we're waiting to reveal that.
We're waiting to reveal it. I think in terms of excitement, I don't think anything changes. I think people would maybe be even more excited that Doom is officially coming. He's going to be the main antagonist for these next two Avengers films.
Yeah.
Like, people would be excited because they know Dr. Doom, and then you get this mid-credits stinger, which would further enhance that. However, I do think revealing RDJ was probably smart, because if you keep it as a mystery, and you get to the movie and we have no idea who it is, and it is revealed to be Robert Downey Jr., you're going to think about nothing else for 2 hours.
Like, I would just start laughing, dude. Yeah, I would be even more pissed.
I would be pissed. I'd be angry. Like, what are we doing here? I wouldn't be able to be with the movie. Yeah. But because they revealed it, I now have 2 years to come to terms with it. So when we get to the movie, I'm not going to be distracted that it's RDJ. I already know. So then I can just be in the moment and go with the flow. Sure. And maybe they'll win me back as a result. But if they kept it a mystery, even though in terms of marketing it might be more exciting, I think it would piss more people off than
I think they being Marvel would have had no choice but to reveal ahead of time who is playing Doctor Doom before the actual movie comes out. I guess I just wish that announcement came after this post-credit scene.
That's fair.
Me too.
And they could have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if anything, this moment
is happening right now, right? So they could have. They could have waited until this weekend was over.
That would have been well timed with this movie coming out as it does. It just take a moment for Hall H to reveal some stuff about Avengers Doomsday, and then you reveal the casting choice, knowing that Dr. Doom has officially been confirmed.
Yeah, because they weren't even at Comic-Con this year.
No, a lot of people skipped out this year.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm with you guys in the sense that, it doesn't really tickle my feathers at all, but I also don't think there was anything else for them to do. I mean, to establish that connection, given what Secret Wars is, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It was the logic call.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. We'll move on.
It's happening.
The film itself does enough work. Again, I liked it quite a bit. I'm really excited for these characters. I'm excited to see them come back for Avengers. And hopefully, despite RDJ, hopefully those films have a plan and it'll win us all over. I'm trying to stay optimistic.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Me too. Me too.
Given the corporate interference at play here, though, I am becoming a little concerned with Feige at the helm, though.
I'm hoping with the Russo brothers, they just let them do their thing because, I mean, those movies make just buckets of money, just truckloads. So I'm hoping that they trust them enough to where they're like, do what you guys think is right or the best, whatever, and just let them do it, because I am kind of getting sick of like the over edit. Like even Daredevil Born Again is just like
same thing.
So heavily edited and just reworked, and it's like there's great moments in there, like you say, but it's just like sifting through to find the great moments sometimes is just not worth it.
It's becoming a chore. I felt the same way about Ironheart.
I haven't watched that one yet, but
it is also bogged down by very similar things. If we talk about art as sports, and we do this all the time.
Again,
so I bring in
we say never do it, and then we do it.
And then, but look, everyone else is doing it. I'm going to do it.
Might as well.
But often in sports, whether it be football or hockey, those are the two I follow the most. I'm sure it's the same way in basketball too. Even the teams that are great and they might have a far run into the playoffs, but they don't get to the finals. They don't win the championships. Those teams will still fire their head coaches and still fire the GMs despite those successes because they're still not winning.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars in the NHL just reached the conference finals 3 years in a row and then fired the head coach because they didn't get to the final. It's crazy. Like, it sounds ridiculous, especially when you grow up a Detroit Lions fan who are never even in that conference. What do you mean you went to the conference finals 3 years in a row and fired the coach? I don't understand that. But anyway, I say all that to say there's been success with Kevin Feige. But maybe you get to a point where you need a new general manager. You just need a new set of eyes. You need a new vision. You need someone to come in and give the team a fresh new beginning. That's all I'm saying.
Well, how long has he been the head of Marvel Studios?
From the beginning, right?
He's been the head for a while, but he also helped make a lot of like the X-Men movies, and he was a producer on that, and I think he was a producer on Blade, if I remember correct. I don't 100% remember.
Yeah, so he worked as a producer for those movies, but he's been a studio head since maybe since Iron Man, I guess.
Yeah.
So here's what you do to continue the sports analogy. Oftentimes when general managers are fired, quote unquote, fired with a wink, but they're revered within their sport and within their franchises. They don't want to publicly humiliate these GMs. So what they'll do is, hey, you're promoted to vice president. You're gonna get a raise and a promotion, but really we're firing you because you're terrible at this job and we need to get someone else in there. So that's what I would do. I would promote Kevin Feige to be like, you're this role now. And then you get someone else to take that GM spot.
He's basically just a permanent executive producer credit on all of these movies. That's basically his job.
That's what I would do. But I'm not in charge. I'm not Bob Iger. So what are you going to do?
It's not even just Marvel. I guess both Marvel and Star Wars need a bit of a shakeup because Kathleen Kennedy, because you can say a lot of the same things about her.
She also got promoted. Yeah,
she also got promoted.
Okay, we'll go ahead and wind down here. Now we're just talking nonsense. Thanks, Meg, for being here. Really do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Where can we follow you and your work online?
You can find me online as WonderMeg with an underscore, basically everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, probably some other places I forgot my password to. You can find my writing at Wonder Watchlist and Session Film, and now A Shot Magazine. So,
ooh, very exciting! Please go check out Meg's work; it's incredible. We really do appreciate you being here, Meg. Thanks for joining us. Meg, though, is not done with In Session Film this week because she is also going to be on our review of the film Cloud. So you can stick around for that. That should be available in the next day or so as well.
I am looking forward to that movie so much.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
You need to watch it. You need to watch it.
I love that filmmaker. I love that Kurosawa.
Yeah, I think you're going to like it. So I look forward to that conversation. Be on the lookout for that. Episode 647 is available. Brendan and I talk about our top 10 pre-MCU superhero movies. We did a collective top 10, so that was a lot of fun. Not nearly as much arguing there. But we did have bonus content, as I noted earlier, where Brendan and I yelled at each other for 45 minutes.
Ari Aster just brings out the worst in people. I guess we should all move to Eddington, Eddington, New Mexico.
And yeah, it could be North Dakota or North Carolina or...
Maybe not North Carolina, but maybe North Dakota would make sense.
North Dakota, yeah.
Yeah.
We make that. Maybe set it in the wintertime in North Dakota. Those movies tend to do pretty well.
No, let's see. Yeah, New Fargo.
Fargo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pandemic Fargo.
Exactly. All right. With all that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the In Session Film Podcast.